Hey everybody, Dan once again from Do's the Limit, and we got our second episode of the American Song Contest. Things changed up a little bit. We got our first 3 qualifiers. There were still some good and bad moments, but overall I think it's clear that the show creators are going to start tweaking or continue tweaking the show to hopefully make a better viewing experience and drum up some of those viewer numbers. So let's talk about it. So the show opened with the reveal of the jury scores and the 3 qualifiers that went through with the help of the televote. 2 of the 3 top 4 juries did end up going through. That was Alexa, who got second in the jury vote and likely won the televote, even if Houston had been considered for it. I think Alexa won the televote and obviously did well with the juries. Safe to say she's probably through to the grand final. I can't imagine her not being there with the legion of fans behind her in that phenomenal performance. Then our second qualifier also made the top 4 of the juries, and that was Michael Bolton, who, again, I didn't think really deserved to go through. He had a nice performance, and I still kind of had him on the bubble on the outside looking in. So it's not a huge shock or an out of left field qualification, and I think he did deserve it. He is still a legend. He did still sound pretty good for his age, for sure, and the staging was nice and the song was fine. So I wasn't too upset about that. And then Arkansas actually was 4th in the jury, but it ended up being Puerto Rico with Loco taking the final spot, which was another one I predicted. So 2 for 3 from the first week, not too bad. Hopefully I can keep that streak or do maybe a little better and get 3 out of 3 this week. After all the voting had been conducted, then we went right into the 11 songs. I think having that little voting segment at the beginning made it feel a little bit of a shorter show because we didn't do commercials after every single performance, nearly every performance, but not after every single performance. So we almost even had 2 songs in a row without commercials. NBC's really trying to break it up a little bit. Even some, just during the commercials, you'll see occasional cuts to just like Snoop or Kelly just kind of hanging out. I think they're trying to use that as ways to say, hey, we're not showing as many commercials, even though at the end of the day, they probably are showing the same amount, but the way they ran the show made it feel a little more seamless. So I'm hoping they continue that route. I'm hoping they find ways to fill space without just always sending us to commercials. I loved going to the voting not the voting blocks, but going to different states and provinces and seeing how they're voting as the show's going on. I don't know if you need to do that after 2 songs like they did, but that's still a great concept, and I think that's something they're going to continue doing going forward. So now let's talk about the auto qualifier, which was Jordan Smith with Sparrow. I think everyone saw this coming from miles away. I was typing in a Discord chat, saying this is 1000% the night's qualifier. We don't even need to see the rest of the songs. When you have a great voice, you're probably going to be an auto qualifier with the juries. And he had an amazing voice because he was on The Voice. And the song was beautiful. The staging was minimal, but still had, some nice elements to it. The feathers that were kind of overlaid in front of him, I liked them at sometimes. And then other times they looked a little weird. So I think the way they show the camera when they use that effect, if they tweak that a little bit, I think it'll be a little more impactful and feel a little more smooth. At times it felt a little weird. And then, of course, having that big choir at the end, the lighting was beautiful. Totally deserved to be the jury winner, no doubt. One major problem that Sparrow didn't encounter that a lot of other artists did was this vocals versus backing track mixing. I think Sweden and some of the employees who've worked on Melfest need to be flown over to LA yesterday to help out the team working on it currently, because there are certain examples of these artists just not having the experience working with the backing track. And I'm going to put one right here, right now. Yeah. So when I hear a backing track at full volume and the artist singing it at the wrong timing, now whether that's the earpiece and what she was hearing or whatever, that is the worst possible experience. I would rather you just have a backing track and cut her mic, or just have her sing live. Don't care how bad it is. right? We don't want to hear doubling vocals. We don't want to hear a weird doubling sound, because that's not natural. You don't get that at a concert, and you don't get that on Spotify or YouTube. So why would you have that happen when you have rehearsals, and you should be able to tweak those things? That just really, really bothered me. And it happened multiple times with several artists. Some were a little harder to hear than others, but you definitely do hear it, right? You hear them speaking the line or singing the line, and it's just slightly off sync with the backing track, and it just sounds really bad. So the audio mixing has got to be fixed. Look, audio is 60% of television. If it sounds bad, people are going to tune out. I guess for as little rehearsals as some of these artists have had, the fact of the matter is that the staging has pretty much gone off without a hitch. You haven't seen any, say, left shark examples of someone not knowing where they're supposed to be. Most of the dancers and things have had it down lock, and so have the artists. They've handled it beautifully. So really, it's just that audio. They've got to clean it up. Either go full backing track or go full vocals and just bring that backing track all the way down to like 10 or 20% and leave it there. Because whoever's doing this mixing has got to figure it out, because it's really jarring and really unprofessional for a production of this caliber and with this much money going into it. So let's jump into the 3 songs that I think are going to qualify. So it's currently Wednesday evening. The YouTube view counts are up quite a bit, and I'm kind of going against the grain on a lot of them here. So I might end up with a 0 out of 3 this week on qualifiers. My first one is going to be New York, Nisa with Green Light. It's just a polished Ariana Grande-esque song. I loved the staging, loved the lasers, loved the colors, love her attitude, the dancing, her voice. It was really just a great performance. I don't think this is the winner of the whole contest, but I think it is deserving of getting to the next round. My second pick is going to be Broderick Jones with Tell Me. This was one of the artists that I had covered. Actually, I think I covered both of them in one of my other videos, one of the 10 to watch videos. I don't remember which ones, but both of these artists I had very high hopes for, and I love the song. I think Tell Me is an absolute banger. It's a very cool dance number, and the staging was probably my favorite staging of the night. I thought it was epic. Now, for much of it, his backing track was extremely loud, and I think he did something the other artists didn't do as well. I think he just leaned on the backing track and said, I'm going to let this thing do all the work. I wrote the song. It's awesome. My staging is amazing. I don't need to overcomplicate things. He let the backing track work its magic and just played off of it. Still love live vocals, but he did it better than a lot of the other artists on the night. So even though he has the least number of views on YouTube, I'm going out on a limb and I'm saying that Broderick Jones finds a way to make it to the next round. At least I think he deserves it. Now, as far as the third one, last week I felt like it was very clear cut that there were only 2 or 3 that could possibly make it out of the heat. This week, I feel like almost everyone's made a case for it. Now, currently, Joan April with Fire It Up has the most views on YouTube, which is a bit perplexing. I didn't think it was the best of the night, but if it's a country song that people love and it's going viral, so be it. So I've thought about it. I've kind of gone between Almira, of course, who I thought was great. Only thing I didn't like about Amira's performance was the head graphic in the background. That was actually more scary than anything. Everything else about her staging I loved, and I loved the song, but that graphic was like, I couldn't look away. I was like, I'm a little creeped out. Wish they'd just do away with that. I think it would be a better performance. And then Chloe Fredericks, of course, was very powerful. Courtship was a personal favorite, though I don't think $1 Million Smoothies is going to get... Actually, I think $1 Million Smoothies has less views than Broderick. I'm a huge $1 Million Smoothies fan. That is my favorite song of the night. That is the one I've been listening to the most. I don't think it's going to get out of there, but I'm going to go with Jocelyn. I'm going to go with Never Alone. Jocelyn, I think she had a really powerful moment that was a little bit overshadowed by Jordan Smith and Sparrow because, you know, and I think she said in her YouTube comments, I was reading some of the comments earlier today, that she doesn't have the voice of, you know, those huge artists, but what made her performance so special was the staging and just the raw emotion that she gave off for the song. And it was just such a beautiful moment. that night. So my 3 qualifiers are going to be Anissa, Broderick, and Jocelyn. So we will see if I'm 0 for 3 next week. I very well might be. It could just be Almira, Jonah, and someone else, right? But those are going to be the 3 that I'm banking on. And so that brings us to week number 3 coming up on April the 4th. Duh. Anyway, so on that day, we have Alabama, Alaska, Jewel, of course, Colorado, Delaware, Florida, Louisiana, New Jersey, the Northern Mariana Islands, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, and Texas. I may be playing favorites a little bit on Texas and Alaska, but I think there's a really good crop here. Nico is one I've been looking forward to. I think Brooke Alex is going to be great. Obviously, Grant Kanoki. I've heard clips of Mr. Independent. I'm really, really excited for this performance because I love his music. I've been streaming it ever since, even before the interview, before I found out I was going to do an interview with him. If you haven't seen that, go check that out on the channel. And yeah, I think this is going to be a really strong week. Really, really strong week. So we will see what happens. We will see how many qualifiers I got right. And I will see you guys next Wednesday. I'm just going to keep doing this on Wednesday.